Hey everybody, I'm John. I collect cards. Hope you're all doing well. It is Monday night, November 18th, and I'm bringing you here another edition of Tracked Auction House Lots. In this video, I'm going to share 6 lots that I was following, among many others actually, but I highlighted 6 here that for this video. 4 of them were from the Robert Edward Auctions November Encore auction that ended last night, Sunday, November 17th. And 4 of them are from that auction, and then 2 are going to be from the Heritage Auctions weekly Sunday night auction that also ended last night on the 17th. So without further ado, let's get to the first card. And these are actually going to be in chronological order, starting with the oldest. But I will, before I dive into this first card here of Fred Merkle, the kicker with this one, and this is maybe my 4th or 5th one of these, I'd say, that I started maybe earlier this year. Just something fun I like to do. It gives you a sense of kind of what I like to follow and track when it comes to card shopping. There's usually a method to my madness in terms of why I might follow a certain card and perhaps even purchase one. But in this particular video here, of these 6, I actually did bid and purchase one. So it'll be up to you to figure that out in terms of which one it was, and I'll share that at the end of the video. Okay, Fred Merkle here. This was the first of the 6 I'm highlighting here. It is a T205 from 1911, gold border, of course, T205, an SGC 3.5 with an American Beauty back. So American Beauty is one of the, it's not truly scarce, but it's pretty rare. It's one of the more rare backs of the 11, I believe it is, in T205. And so as a result, they have a little bit of extra value. In some cases, I'd say they have even more than a little bit of extra value. They're not, among the lead, like, Broadleaf and Drum and Hindu are the big 3 rare, scarce ones. But American Beauty's kind of like maybe 4th or 5th of those 11. So it's not quite in the middle. It's pretty tough to find. And they usually are cut a little more narrow than the other brands, apparently. But so sometimes they often look like they could be trimmed, but they're really not. So in this case, this is a beautiful card. I just love the colors of this card. Fred Merkle kind of has a place in Giants franchise lore. His base running blunder cost the Giants a pennant back in, I believe it was 1908. He ended up having a pretty good career overall for the Giants. He may have played for another team after the Giants. I can't actually remember that, but anyway, if you're not familiar with Merkle's blunder, which we'll call it in this video, you can go look it up and read all about it. Anyway, this was a 3.5, went for $108. So all the prices you'll see here factor in the buyer's premium. And so this one sold for $108. And so what I like to do is kind of just share what how that price kind of fared with recent sales in the same grade, or a similar grade at least. And as you can see here, this card did pretty well, I guess you could say. Again, it went for $108, a 3.5, and an SGC 3.5. This is probably an outlier, but a 3, it went for $72. So in some ways, maybe it was kind of what you might expect overall. A 4 is kind of gets the tier jumps a little bit that much more in terms of price. But still, I'd say a pretty decent result considering it's not baseball season anymore. We're in the fall, and so you'd think prices might be a little slower or a little softer. But so a decent result, I'd say, for this card, and it was one I was following, as all of these were. So just a really, really nice card. I love the blue background. So let's move on to the next one. The next one I was tracking was a T207. This is a set that I think gets overlooked. There's probably with good reason for that. It's not the most attractive pre-war set, but I think some cards kind of catch my eye a little bit, and this is one of them. They catch my eye from a overall look, but also sometimes the player, or the person on the card. In this case, it's Art Fletcher, also of the New York Giants. This one's in an SGC 3.5 as well. I'm not super familiar with all of the nuances of this series as of yet, although I know the Recruit Little Cigars is, I think, maybe the most common of the backs. But this is a really nice card as well. See if I could slow down on the clicking a little bit there. So they're known for their brown backgrounds, the T207s. Art Fletcher was a really good Giants player, played for the New York Giants as their shortstop for several years, and most of his career was with the Giants. And then he later became a very successful bench coach for the New York Yankees and was part of Joe McCarthy's, he was one of Joe McCarthy's main coaches. And so he has he ended up getting a number of World Series rings as a coach for the Yankees after he retired playing. But he played for John McGraw for quite a while. And so he saw lots of success on the ball field and was a pretty good contributor. This card sold for $54 overall in a 3.5. So let's see how that fared versus recent sales in this grade. Here's the overall kind of sales number that VCP tracks. These are VCP prices, I should say. And let's see how 3.5 fares. $40, but a 3 went for 52 at some point. Compare that to PSA. Here's a 4, here's a 3. I'd say it probably fared about what you'd expect for this card overall. So kind of, nothing too surprising or outlier in terms of an outlier for this card. I think it was a decent price for what you'd expect overall. I think it's a decent example. It's got some centering issues, a little bit of scuffing, as you could sort of see, scratches maybe, but overall, I thought this was a pretty nice example to track. Okay, the next card of the 6 we're going to share here is also from Robert Edward Auctions. This card just really pulled me in as soon as I saw it. So this is a card I just wasn't, I guess, all that familiar with in terms of the actual, image. It's Ray Schalk, Chicago White Sox, Hall of Fame catcher. He was not one of the 8 men out of the 1919 White Sox. He ended up having a solid career with the, overall behind the dish. And at the plate to a degree, I guess, as well. He actually has 2 cards. Ray Schalk has 2 cards from this 1922 E121 American Caramel set. There's a shot of him batting as well. But I think this picture of him in his catching gear is just fantastic. It's got to be a posed shot, even though it looks like there's people in the background there. So it's probably not during a game, but who knows if it was during a game, even more amazing. But I think it's just a really cool pose shot, and it just gives you a sense of the gear, kind of the evolution of the gear, catcher's gear, and the mitt, and to me, the shin guards in particular are just really cool. So this is just a fantastic card. It's in a PSA 3.5, very recent flip as well. And as you can see, it went for $180. I'm going to show the back of this as well really quick. Here's the typical back for these from the American Caramel Company. So this is a fantastic card. And I don't own an E1. I went into these auctions not owning an E121 or a T207 for that matter either. I do have a few T205s because I do love that set, the gold border set. But $180 for Ray Schalk is what it went for. Let's see how that compares for, again, it was a 3.5. So we've had 3 3.5s in a row, believe it or not. So this is a very interesting set of prices here. First off, let me scroll back up. There aren't many sales of this card, for one thing, and maybe that's why I got drawn to it, because maybe you just don't see it every day. Just a super cool card of a good Hall of Famer. Lower tier Hall of Famer, but a Hall of Famer nonetheless, played for a notable team. So a PSA 3 literally sold for $810. Look at this result here. Back in April, an REA auction as well. It got 28 bids. It's not the same card, that I can tell you for sure. But what an outlier that was. $810 for a half grade lower compared to what you're seeing in the couple $100, $125 for an SGC3. But overall, for a 3.5 versus 105.50, the card did very well. So it had a strong result, I'd say, last night on REA, and not surprising because it's a beautiful card. So the Shock did very well, but I think the buyer picked up a beauty, even if they had to pay a little bit more than maybe what they were expecting to. But let's move on to the fourth example here. I'm going to try to go through these a little faster than maybe I have in the past. I'm going to try to keep this to about 15 minutes, if at all possible. The fourth and final REA card that I'm sharing here from last night's auction that ended last night is this 1935 Gaudi 4-in-1. It is of the Detroit Tigers. We have Mickey Cochran, Charlie Gehringer, and we've got Tommy Bridges, and oh my gosh, Rogel. I'm spacing out on his name, actually. I cannot remember his name. He was the shortstop, though. And but the of the four here, Mickey Cochran and Charlie Gehringer are in the Hall of Fame. Bridges was one of the main starting pitchers of the team. Tommy Bridges. Mickey Cochran was the catcher, of course, and player manager of the Tigers. Gehringer, the Hall of Fame second baseman. It's just a really cool card overall. I don't have a 35 Gaudi 4-in-1, and it's a series that I thought maybe I would add an example someday. I almost did, actually, at the Strongsville show way back in April of this year. This year I was tracking one that had Jimmy Fox on it, and it was kind of my last purchase, and I had it up against another one, and I ended up getting the other card instead. So I still don't have one of these, but someday we'll see. But anyway, it went for $96 overall, and let's see how that price fared versus BVGs. So here's the kicker on this one. I was tracking it anyway, even if it was a Beckett slab, which is not a brand that I typically buy slabs of. But I just thought it seemed like a cool card. You don't really see it too often, and it is the price seemed a little on the a way to at least follow the auction and just sort of see what was going on. So versus fours, and as you can see just from a PSA and an SGC, here's BVG, BGS. Card went for a song seemingly last night. So yeah, $96 overall with the buyer's premium. So a pretty soft result for that card, but perhaps a surprise in a way as well. So here, I'm just going to show that again up close one more time there on that one. In fact, I'll zoom in a little bit since it's got 4 different players on the card. So there it is right there. It's a little scratchy possibly, and obviously the red borders are going to get eaten up by wear. And on the back of this card, it's like a puzzle, I believe, and it looks like it's got the Tigers right there. So but an interesting card for sure, a unique series. But this particular card did not go for a high price, or at least that it maybe had in the past. So let's track the 2 heritage auctions that I was among a few that I was tracking last night as well. Starting with this 1957 Topps Frank Robinson rookie, in what I think is a very nice PSA 3. It ended up going for $149 with the buyer's premium. Little off-center top, but left-right, yeah, it's a little off-center left as well. But for a 3, for the overall image quality, it's a pretty nice card. There's the back. Back looks pretty good as well. Overall, not bad at all for the back. For a PSA 3, there could possibly be a hidden crease in there somewhere, maybe right there, possibly a slight crease. But this card had very nice eye appeal to track all the way through. And we're going to see how it did here in a sec versus comps. A little scratch there, but gosh, again, it's a 3. His face looks fantastic. Hat looks great. Holding the bat. This is just a great card. and one I did not have yet going into this weekend. So PSA 3, we're going to see how that 149 has fared, and underperformed a little bit versus 170. And these cards sell all the time, so this is a very good indicator. So Frank Robinson, time and time again, just continues to surprise me in terms of how affordable his cards are. I mean, gosh, even a PSA 5 collector grade, you can probably get it for between $300 and $350 for one of the all-time great sluggers. The guy was an amazing ball player, 2-time MVP, first one to do it in both leagues, I believe. And you can get his rookie card in a 5 for $300+. So that's kind of hard to believe. Compare that to just 3 years prior, Ernie Banks, Hank Aaron, Al Kaline in 5s. It's not that much later in terms of years, and again, the value is lots of value in a Frank Robinson rookie. So, but anyway, that's why I was tracking it, because at some point I figured I will be getting one. Anyway, it underperformed last night, and let's look at the last card I was tracking. We're going to go all the way to almost modern. I say almost modern because this is from 2013. I mean, it is modern. It's not ultra modern, I guess. But this was just a curiosity for me, and so I kept tracking it all the way through. I'm not picking up a lot of Shohei Ohtani cards, but I've picked up a couple in the last 6 months or so. I figured it was, time to start looking, at least for, pick up a few, because I was out of the hobby in 2018, and I don't think I own a single slabbed Ohtani, actually, and I don't own that many slabbed modern cards, period. That's just not my real true niche of collecting in terms of, I have modern cards, but I don't have slab ones, at least not too many. I have a couple of decent raw Ohtanis that I probably won't grade. But I was tracking this one because it was very interesting. This is a 2013 card from when he was, I guess, just coming up in Japan. He was all of 19 or 20 or 18, 19 years old. He was born in 94, I believe. So he was all of 18 or 19 years old here. It is what they're calling a then and now with another Japanese, I guess, all-star player, Yoshikawa. I'll click on it here to make it a little bigger. It's a Gem Mint 10, a PSA 10, so I thought to track it a little bit. It's from their time as teammates with Hokkaido. And so, gosh, it's a pretty cool pose of Ohtani, too. I guess as a pitcher there. And so the auction went for $139. PSA 10, which, obviously it doesn't count as a first Bowman or anything like that. But to me, this price almost sounded kind of low. And that's why I was tracking it all the way through for a PSA 10. Let's see how this fared versus comps. Not too many sales of this card, as you can see. Only 141 that VCP has tracked. But PSA 10, is only sold average for 111. 222 it's topped at. So this card did a little better than average. But I was just surprised that the average was what it was, to be honest. So, will this card continue to go up? We'll see. But, here's some kind of recent prices of these, or sale prices of these 10s. Here's one that just went a few days prior for 130, also slightly above average on eBay, but it only had one bid, which is very interesting, and PSA was selling it there. I guess someone graded it and sold it right through PSA. But yeah, I thought that was just an interesting card to track. It's kind of cool looking. But there you have it. Those are the 6 cards that I was tracking that I'm among probably, about 20, I'd say, between the two auctions. Which one do you think I followed through with and purchased? Did I get the Merkle? Did I get the Fletcher? How about the Ray Shaw? How about the Tigers 4-1? How about the Robinson rookie? Or how about that Ohtani? All right, well, I won't play Jeopardy music as you think about it, but okay. The card I bid on, and I only placed the bid on one of these cards, as it turned out. I only placed the bid on one, and I put an auto bid on it, and it didn't need to go any higher than my first bid, actually, as it turned out. The card I picked up was the Gowdy 4-1, 1935. Gowdy, the Tigers 4-1 with Mickey Cochran, Charlie Gehringer, Tommy Bridges, and gosh, Rogel is going to bug me now because I actually was looking up him before, and now I'm spacing out on his first name, so forgive me. But he was the shortstop, I know that. And actually, I'm going to link in the description at the bottom of my description for this. I'm actually going to put it down below quite far, so in case you're looking at the description before watching the video, I don't want to give away what the card was. But there was a really cool. I was trying to figure out how to pronounce Rogel's last name, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it right, because I wasn't familiar with him. But I found a very cool little 2-minute audio clip on YouTube of a couple of sound bites from him from an interview he was giving. Very fascinating for 2 minutes, actually. He talks about Babe Ruth, and he talks about a home run he hit way back when Tiger Stadium was Navin Field or Navin Stadium, before it was even Briggs Stadium, before they fully double-decked the outfield and everything. He talked about a home run he hit, which was pretty funny, actually. So for a 2-minute video, I think it's worth sharing and give a listen to if you're interested in hearing about a vintage baseball player reminiscing back in the day. And it was, I think, recorded probably in the late 90s. He was already in his 90s when that audio was done. But anyway, this was the card I picked up. It's in a BVG holder. Quick background in terms of what I was thinking about this, because I think I got this for a pretty nice price, to be honest. I bid on this card, or maybe at the worst, I think I got it at an okay price. I was surprised that I got it for what I did. But I was evaluating this card as either an SGC or PSA 3 because I plan on crossing this over at some point next year. Probably will be to SGC, but I'm not sure, actually. It's possible I could cross it to PSA because the red border flip will work really well with the red of this card. So there's a decent possibility I might cross it to PSA. But we'll see. I'll think about that. But I did sort of evaluate it in my mind as it maybe being a 3 and not a 4. I think a 4 maybe is a generous grade for this. But at the same time, the slab is pretty beat up, I think, itself. It's got some scratches in it, so it's impossible, or not totally possible, to tell what are scratches on the slab versus on the card. This one right here, like, that could be on the slab. It's hard to tell, but I think it might be on the slab. But then there are things up here that, like, I think this scratch here is probably on the card. This one here, probably also the card, but not certain. So, anyway, this is the card I got, and I'm really excited about this one. So I look forward to getting this, and, probably take a couple weeks to get here, or a week or so. I'll show it on camera up close when I do get it. But if you watched this far, thanks very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed this video. And I will catch you on the next one. All right, take care.